The most dangerous misconception about introverts is not that they are shy or antisocial, and it's not even that they don't do well as leaders. The most dangerous misconception is that there are certain jobs that are introvert-friendly, and if you happen to be an introvert, you should stick to those jobs. But today, let's prove them wrong. Let me tell you how to build a great career as an introvert. By the way, I'm Elena, I teach managers how to be good managers, and I used to coach very introverted people and help them to achieve the career that they wanted. Also, I consider myself introverted, and I have a pretty successful career, you can say. I used to be director, I managed a team of managers, and right now I'm at the stage where I pretty much do what I like. So hopefully this video will save you many years of career trial and error. So when we first start our jobs in a corporate, usually 9 to 5s, we start to notice with time that there are certain rules of the game. We observe that people who are more outgoing, more open, more extroverted, sometimes do better than others. And if you are rather introverted, sometimes you may feel that you're not really fitting in. And by the way, if you are neurodivergent, the challenges that you may experience is like on a completely different scale. And here's what I see people in this situation usually do. They push without reflecting, and they reflect with judgment. First, they push without reflecting. So because all of these rules of the game are a quality of a system, we often tend to think that the problem, when there is an unfit, the problem is with us, not with the system. So because of that, we push ourselves to fit in as much as possible without properly, sometimes even reflecting why this unfit is happening in the first place. Like, what is it in the system that makes my work uncomfortable, and that way around, what are my qualities, what do I need to show my best work? So we don't reflect enough on ourselves and our personalities. And if people start reflecting, what they do is they reflect with judgment. So they see unique traits of their personalities as a problem, as something that stops them from having a great career. So they think, if I would be more extroverted, I would go and talk to people and charm everyone. This would help me to get the career I want. So the very, very first thing that I want for you to do is to reflect on your personality without this heavy weight of judgment from yourself. Recall the last time when something that happened in a workplace was a little bit too extroverted for you. Try to capture from these experiences what are your limits and what are your no-goes. Later in this video, we will be talking about tactics and more specific things, but it all starts with you understanding yourself better with an intention of accepting it and not judging yourself for being a bit different. So we know that corporate favors extroverts, and sometimes it's not the smartest or the most hardworking ones who wins in the corporate game, career game, but the one who is more visible to management and active. But if we as introverts will blindly follow the urge to be like them, this has consequences. Neglecting our personalities makes us uncomfortable, miserable, we're getting burned out, and it like is generally not a sustainable way to approach your career, because like we're working for decades and decades of our lives. Imagine spending all of these decades miserable trying to pretend that you are someone you're actually not. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn new skills, we definitely should. And depending on what career you envision for yourself, some of the skills will be absolutely mandatory. But the foundation of a sustainable long-term career starts with you learning about yourself and your limits. Or on the other side, we can decide to stay at a job that does not require much social interactions, not because we like it and not because we want this career for ourselves, but just because everything kind of hints that this is where you fit in and this is where you better be. In modern reality, the most cliche job that fits into this description is tech. It's a development job because a lot of developers are often working standalone, or at least this is a perception, because some of the tech jobs actually require a lot of social interactions. And once again, you should not limit yourself to that if this is not the career that you want. By the way, in good companies, they have actually systems on how to ensure the equal growth opportunities for everyone. And when they speak about inclusivity, it's not only about race and gender and etc. It's also about how people operate in differently in social situations. So they try to normalize that and be inclusive for that as well. But unfortunately, till this day, the percentage of companies that are that aware of that is still relatively small. Now let's talk about how you can build a career that you want for yourself, not just be in the box where people kind of labeled you and put you in. And the biggest mindset that I want for you to adapt is, instead of investing so much energy into trying to compensate for the things that you are not good at, you should leverage things you are already good at. Maybe a small talk and creating quick connections in a social setting is not something you are good at. You can invest a lot of time and effort into learning it, and you may even succeed. But instead of that, you can leverage your skill in one-to-one connections. Because you are more comfortable in these one-to-one conversations, you can make them much more thoughtful and productive and actually beneficial for your career. It can be attention to detail. Maybe you have a skill of having like a deep focus. Good attention to detail is super important for decision making, for very complex problem solving. Introverts can be very good listeners and be able to show empathy to others. And to be honest, in the business, it is such a huge skill and even assets, particularly in leadership, in consulting, in customer service, in areas where empathy is important for the result of your job. But also this is something that you can use in building a relationship with your management. Instead of shallow social interactions, more one-to-one, deeper connection, thoughtful type of social interactions. Another thing is preparedness, being prepared, because usually introverts think before they speak, and this helps with the communication. And in general, I think where extroverts would hope to figure things out along the way because they're so good in this communicating on the fly, your superpower would be the knowledge and this preparedness. Just imagine a very high stakes negotiation. Of course, you definitely should have a good speaking skills, but at the same time, very often being properly prepared is much more important for the outcome of the negotiation. Also, because many introverts prefer to work independently, it actually develops a skill of being self-motivated. And the thing is, when you kind of climb the corporate ladder, I think the more you work, the more usually autonomy you get in your work, and not everyone are able to tolerate it well, which is exactly your superpower. Also, if you want to make a career in a very specific field that you know is dominated by extroverts and because of that it feels intimidating, there are actually ways to go around it. For example, sales as an area is, I think, considered one of the most extroverted type of jobs, because you have to establish relationships very fast, you have to pitch to people. For many people, even not introverted people, this is out of the comfort zone. But there is another side of sales, the one that account managers do when they establish a long-term relationship with the clients that the company already has. So in this case, you're leveraging what you're good at instead of pushing yourself to start loving cold calling people. Also, you maybe know this already, but everything is online, we're all in hybrid, so leverage written communication favors you. I don't know about you, but even though I handle social interactions pretty well, at least for a short period of time, I sometimes wish to take a step back and think more before I answer which written communication provides you. And by the way, side note, I so wish for managers to actually normalize telling people, hey, this is a question, take it, think about it, and get back to me, instead of calling all the time and kind of spotlighting people to give the answer to them straight away, which of course I understand, sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it happens, but I just wish more managers would give their teams time to think and get back to them with a more thoughtful something, and not just pretend that everything that comes from a manager is urgent by default. Now let's talk about your personal brand, and I mean both inside the company and outside as well. First, your connection with your manager affects your personal brand in the company quite a lot. So what you will need to do is to put an effort into understanding what your manager wants. What is your manager's agenda? Use the skills that you have, your expertise, your attention to detail, your thoughtfulness into understanding your manager and giving them something that satisfies this need, something that would help them in their agenda. And sometimes it does not equal do your job. And just doing your job well is important and helpful. But to succeed on your career track or increase the chances for this career success, you will need to think not only about your agenda, but the agenda of your manager. In the end, it shows that you're thinking wider than your current role. And we do want for our managers to be advocates of us inside the company, so this is a solid foundation for your personal brand. I acknowledge it is hard to build a personal brand without networking, but what I want for you to do is to network on your terms. And what I mean by that is you can do it in a way that works for you. A lot of people approach network with the strategy of trying to meet everyone, but instead of that, you can focus on putting effort into meeting more key people for your career and create a good connection with them instead of playing a game of numbers. And also offline type of networking is sometimes a bit more stressful than online. So online networking is totally normalized today, so leverage that. You can also create artifacts of your personal brands that will work on you without you socially interacting with anyone. For example, very well prepared LinkedIn page, your blog if you do blog, newsletter, or even portfolio of your work if this is applicable for your specialization. These are the things that capture the value that you bring to others, which is one of the most important things. But you put an effort, you create it once, you show it to others, and you're not involved, like you're not actively showing others your LinkedIn page. So it is a pretty comfortable way, I would say, to build your personal brand. So the next part is, in my opinion, super important, one of the most important ones in this whole conversation. And it's a little bit hard to convey, but I will try my best. And it is about communicating your needs. In the beginning, I told you that because the system that we're in favors extroverts more, we sometimes tend to think that there is something wrong with us, and we kind of need to fix it. That's why so many people are incredibly hesitant to properly communicating what they are comfortable with and what they are not. Although there is nothing wrong with it and they deserve to do it. Sometimes we're simply afraid to express our preferences. For example, I don't know, sometimes it can be hard to say to your manager that you need more time to prepare a presentation, or you would be more comfortable with the more days work from home. And it's not that asking this will lead to a bad consequences for us. It's just the mindset of thinking that there is something wrong with us kind of prevents us from advocating for ourselves and even asking for simple things that can make our work better. So don't get me wrong, I totally acknowledge that this is not an easy thing to do, and I myself relate to that and struggle with it sometimes. But the ability to communicate your needs to your management, to your team, to your company is a skill that I believe will lead you to a more sustainable long-term career overall. Now let's talk about promotion. Imagine that you succeeded. You established a great relationship with your manager, you crafted your personal brand, you use your strengths and unique qualities to bring the value, and you finally were offered a promotion that you totally deserve. And now here's me telling you not to take it, or at least not accepting it before you think about a few important things. First, we're often pressured to accept a promotion because of a peer pressure, because of social pressure. Especially with the leadership position, it's kind of a socially accepted career track. So if you're offered that, of course you should take it. But before you do, you need to first learn carefully what this position is about, what type of responsibilities that this position contains. Not on paper, but in reality. Will it imply managing a team? Or is it more a professional step up where you will need to deepen your hard skills that you're having? How much will you be exposed to tasks that require extraversion in a wider sense? And if you say yes to this promotion, think about what will be at least one more step after it. Think about it. Imagine you're doing that. How do you feel about it? Is it something that is aligned with your vision of career for yourself, or actually not? Answering these few simple questions will help you simply not regret your career decision later on. And by the way, corporate work can be stressful for everyone. So I made a video about how I routinely work on my 9 to 5 under a lot of pressure. So check it out if you like. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you there.